Welcome back to Pinocchio. Let's continue our story. We're on chapter 2 of Pinocchio, and let's see what happens today, okay? Chapter 2. At that moment, someone knocked at the door. Come in, said the carpenter, without having the strength to rise to his feet. A lively little old man immediately walked into the shop. His name was Geppetto. But when the boys of the neighborhood wished to put him in a passion, they called him by the nickname of Polendina. This book, I failed to tell you at the beginning that this book was originally written in Italian and it was translated into various languages. So they will use some words that we're not very familiar with here in America. So when it says that the neighborhood boys used to like to put him in a passion, that means that they used to love to make him angry. That wasn't very nice, is it? So it says, his name was Geppetto, but when the boys of the neighborhood wished to put him in a passion, they called him by the name of Polendina, because his yellow wig greatly resembled a pudding made of Indian corn. That would be like cream of corn, I believe. Um, it's like almost like it's like eating like a soup with little chunks of corn in there. So he wore a wig that looked kind of like a pudding made of corn. So they would call, and that's the name of that is Polendina in Italian. So they would call him Polendina, and that would make him really mad. Geppetto was very fiery. That means he was he would get mad very easily. Woe to him who called him Polendina. He became furious, and there was no holding him. Good day, Master Antonio, said Geppetto. What are you doing there on the floor? I'm teaching the alphabet to the ants. Much good may that do you. What has brought you to me, neighbor Geppetto? I think he was just being sarcastic when he said he was teaching the ants the alphabet, okay? My legs, said Geppetto. But to say the truth, Master Antonio, I have come to ask a favor of you. Here I am, ready to serve you, replied the carpenter, getting on his knees. This morning an idea came into my head. Let's hear it. I thought I would make a beautiful wooden puppet, but a wonderful puppet that should know how to dance, to fence, and to leap like an acrobat. To fence means to fight with a sword. With this puppet, I would travel about the world to earn a piece of bread and glass of wine. What do you think about it? In other words, he would use his puppet to tell stories with, and people would pay him. That's what he means by earn a piece of bread. Bravo, Polendina, exclaimed the same little voice, and it was impossible to say where it came from. Hearing himself called Polendina, Geppetto became as red as a turkey cock, from rage, and turning to the carpenter, he said in a fury, Why do you insult me? Who insults you? Who called me Polendina? It was not I. Would you have it then that it was I? I? It was you, I say. No. Yes. No. Yes. They're going back and forth. Master Antonio and Geppetto. And becoming more and more angry from words, they came to blows, and flying at each other, they bit and they fought and they scratched manfully. And here's a picture of them fighting. Okay, the one in the red shirt is Master Antonio, and the old man in the beard, that's Geppetto. Okay, and it came to the point where they were starting to hit each other. That's not very civil, is it? When the fight was over, Master Antonio was in possession of Geppetto's yellow wig, and Geppetto discovered that the gray wig belonging to the carpenter had remained between his teeth. So they both wore wigs. I think they were both bald men. Okay, so Master Antonio had Geppetto's wig, I believe it was him, in his mouth, and Geppetto had Master Antonio's wig in his hand. Give me back my wig, screamed Master Antonio, and you return me mine, and let us make friends. The two old men, having each recovered his own wig, shook hands and swore that they would remain friends at the end of their lives. Well then, neighbor Geppetto, said the carpenter, to prove that peace was made, was it the favor that you wished of me? I want a little wood to make my puppet. Will you give me some? Master Antonio was delighted, and he immediately went to the bench and brought the piece of wood that had caused him so much fear. But just as he was going to give it to his friend, the piece of wood gave a shake, and wriggling violently out of his hands, struck with it all its force against the dried up shins of poor Geppetto. So in other words, the piece of log shook itself and it fell out of his hands and hit him on his shins, which is right below his knees. That's really painful to get hit right there. If you've ever played soccer or ball and somebody's kicked you in the shins, it hurts. Ah, is this the courteous way in which you make your presents, Master Antonio? Have you almost lamed me? That means you almost crippled me. I swear to you that it was not I. Then you would have it that it was I? The wood is entirely to blame. And I know that it was the wood, but it was you that hit my legs with it. I did not hit you with it. Liar. Geppetto, don't insult me or I will call you Polendina. Donkey, Polendina. Donkey, Polendina. They're going back and forth. Baboon. They're calling each other names. Two grown men, two old men calling each other names. See how silly that looks? Polendina. On hearing himself called Polendina for the third time, Geppetto, blind with rage, he fell upon the carpenter and they fought desperately. When the battle was over, Master Antonio had two more scratches on his nose, and his adversary had two buttons too few on his waistcoat. Their accounts being thus squared, they shook hands and swore to remain good friends for the rest of their lives. Well, it's a good thing they can forgive each other, isn't it? Geppetto carried off his fine piece of wood and, thanking Master Antonio, returned limping to his house. And that is the end of chapter 2. They're very short, aren't they? But it's going to some of the chapters will be long, and it's going to get better as we go. All right? You guys have a good day. Bye-bye.